Hi, everybody. I'm so happy that you guys are here this wonderful spring weather we're having. And oh my gosh, I'm super excited to sit there and say, welcome back to the Marketing Mindset Mastery Podcast. Yay. And I'm your host, Marie Mason. We have an amazing show lined up for you today. You are not going to want to miss this. Our guest is going to be sharing some great tips and ideas on how to make your marketing and mindset work for you. And you're going to learn how to set up your business for success. So stick around for the action steps and any of the great gifts that my guest will be sharing with you. And just to let you know, his name is Danny Decker, and he's going to be talking to you about marketing in a super cool way that's going to help you grow your business. Because after all, we need to grow our business, right? To make it legit. So first, before we bring up our guests, it's the top tips of the week. So we're going to share those, and I'm going to really be really fast on this because I want to bring up our guests. And I also want to be able to share some cool reveal at the end of this section. So first one is, how many of you ever find yourself playing those like negative stories in your head? It's like, I'm not good enough to be a business owner, or is my skills really where I need it to be a business owner? Okay, because you could be in business for yourself, you could be a coach, you could be a speaker, you could be a freelancer, or you can even be just a business owner, professional, that one's working either traditional or even from home. And you may have a successful business right now model, but sometimes we kind of have those little self-doubts play in our head, and those negative stories sort of like keep us from moving forward. So I'm really putting together a webinar that's going to address the fear, the imposter syndrome, the fear of failure, and fear of question. Really not the fear of questioning it, but really more focusing on questioning your values. So with the imposter syndrome, we're going to help you flip those negative stories into positive affirmations so that you can give yourself a positive mental image, right? And then in positive speech is really what we're focusing on. And then we're also going to help you talk about reframing your thoughts about, have you ever said something like, I'm failing at this, right? Because you feel like you're a failure if things don't work out. And we want to flip that from I'm failing to it's possible. And we're going to showcase how that process works, right? And then we're going to also talk about addressing in some of the fears and questioning your value, because oh my gosh, you have so much value you can offer people, but we need to help you develop your relationships and with that confidence level that will help boost your confidence. Because if you're not feeling confident, that's when you question your value. So we're going to help you flip that messaging. So today's messaging in really focus is, you really have to understand that whatever's going on mentally reflects in everything that you do in your business, right? I mean, you've probably experienced that. So it spills into other areas of your life. So if you're having any questions about you're doing things correctly, or insecurities of any kind, it shows up in everything you do, including in your relationships with people, whether it's your clients or your family or whatever. It just shows up everywhere. We're going to help you address those and solve that problem for good. I'm going to be offering a free webinar. It's going to be an hour long, starting on April 11th. We're going to have 7 different opportunities from April 11th through April 28th. We're going to have 7 different opportunities. I will be sharing those dates in the next few weeks on the podcast. I'm also going to be sharing the link in next week's podcast, but or in the next few podcasts. So wanted just to let you know that in the meantime, message me on Facebook, find me at Marie V. Mason or Marie Mason, and I'm in Charlottesville, Virginia, just so you know. And also check me on LinkedIn at libertyvirtualsolutions.com. And what I don't know if it's going to say libertyvirtualsolutions.com, but anyway, go to my website at libertyvirtualsolutions.com, and you can even message me and connect with me and say, I would like link to the free webinar. And I will be happy to accommodate you on either one. So you can also go to our YouTube channel. You can click the like button, you can click the share button, and you can also comment below and let people know and let me know that you would like to get the link for our free webinar. So there's more than one ways. And the last way I'm going to share with you is Marie V. Mason, M-A-R-I-E-V, letter V, Mason, and the last name Mason, M-A-S-O-N. So Marie V. Mason at gmail.com. And you can also collect, ask me for the webinar link, and I will send that registration link out to you. I am super excited to launch that webinar because it's literally going to help you change your negative messages and reframe them into positive ones so that you don't have to worry about having these internal struggles quite as frequently. We're going to help you reduce that and help you be able to really focus on doing what you love doing best as a business owner. So that is something I wanted to share with you. I am super excited to share our guest with you. So let me go ahead and introduce you to him. So welcome back to our show. I cannot wait to host Danny Decker. He is the author of Automatic Marketing Machine, and he is based in Charlotte, North Carolina. So he's on the East Coast, just a state below Virginia, which is where I'm from, and super excited about his topic, which is all about the authentic marketing machine. Who does not want to put marketing on autopilot? I don't know about you. I do. I have some ideas about how that wouldn't, but I really want Danny to share his ideas today. So with that, let me bring up our guest because he's waiting so patiently into the room. So let's bring it up. So come on down, Danny. Welcome. I just like to bring it as make it sound like a stage as much as possible because it's a virtual stage, but you know, we still have to make it fun, right?
Yeah, thanks, Marie. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited about this.
I am too. I've been so looking forward to having you, and we've had to keep changing it because of crazy calendar issues and weather and oh, you name it. It's this world has gone crazy. I'm just going to do that way.
That it has.
So anyway, welcome to the show. I am super stoked about our topic, and I'm just going to give you a quick starter question before we get started because I like to know a little bit about it. I know you're really passionate probably about marketing like I am, but I'm going to actually flip that starter question around and ask you, how did you get started in the marketing on this book, The Automatic Marketing Machine? Because I want to get the story behind it, and then we're going to jump into the topic. How's that sound?
Sounds great. So you want the story behind how I got into marketing or how this book came about? Because they happen at different times.
Okay. How about we focus on the book part since we're going to be talking more about the book. I mean, we're talking about marketing machine, but the book concept, I'm interested in the book because I'm getting ready to launch my first book in April. So I children's book. So I'm kind of curious because we do have some people who are authors and some who are even publishers that are listening to this podcast. So I'm sure we all would like to know the story about how your book, The Automatic Marketing Machine, making sure I say that correctly, came about. That'll be great.
Yeah. So I have spent about 12 years or so now in the marketing industry, including building a marketing agency and selling it about 4 years ago. And one of the reasons that I sold the agency and moved into more of the education and consulting and coaching side of things was because I realized that many small business owners just don't really understand kind of the basic concepts around marketing. And as a result, they're spending a lot of time and they're spending a lot of money and they're not getting the results that they need. And so I actually wrote my first book, which was called Marketing Simplified, around 3 years ago. And then this second book came about because I partnered up with somebody, a guy named Arjon Robbins, who I've known for around 10 years in the kind of legal coaching and consulting world. And we both kind of share a common passion around marketing and both share an understanding that your average small business owner isn't necessarily getting great marketing advice and isn't getting the results that they want out of their marketing. And we decided to do something about it. And so we started doing some workshops and educational events. And then we decided we were going to write a book. And so here we are.
Perfect. No, I love it. Yeah, I usually whenever we do something, um, whenever we start a new business, for example, it's usually based around a need that's needed and that needs to be filled in the marketplace. Um, my book, for example, is talking about destigmatizing learning disabilities. Specifically, in this particular case, this example will be on dyslexia. The other ones that we're going to be coming on down the road will be about the 12 different learning disabilities, just a snapshot version of what I saw teaching for 20 years in my classroom. So I went and taught in preschool level. And even in the preschool level, we've come across a lot of different learning disabilities. And there's a lot of, I noticed that some teachers were having trouble understanding and grasping why some kids act and behave the way they do and how they need to be taught and to be able to address those issues. You know what I mean? So there's so many different
Absolutely.
things. So your need for the marketing is similar to my need for coming out and talking about the learning disabilities and how kids learn differently and how we process things and how people need to treat us and how and really showcasing everyone's expertise. So it doesn't matter if it's on marketing or dyslexia or whatever it is that we're focusing on, we need to be able to showcase our expertise. So speaking of which, yours is in marketing, which is so cool because I used to try being a digital marketing agency for a while. And I found that I really wanted to be less on the marketing, and because I found that very time consuming, and I could do it for my own self, but I found it's harder to do it for others. So I really admire anyone who could do that, and maybe we can even work on something on that partnership or something with that. But why do you think, and I'm going to ask this because I come across the same question for my clients as well as my students, because I have a business academy and I have a business mindset coach. And one of the things that both of them, as because they're both in business owners, right? Some are coaches and some are just, freelancers and stuff. One of the biggest things that they struggle with is marketing. So I'm going to ask you this question. Why do you think that so many small business owners in particular struggle with their marketing? What is the main reason?
Yeah, and it's such a good question. And the reality is that most small business owners, whether they are coaches or lawyers or architects or landscapers, they're really good at the thing that their business does, right? They're great lawyers, great landscapers, great coaches, but they're not in most cases great at marketing. Why? Because they didn't study marketing in college. They are busy running their business, right? And so they don't have time and energy to invest in getting really good at marketing. And so what do they do instead? Well, they go work with marketing vendors, marketing agencies or freelancers or whomever. And it's very reasonable and easy to understand why, right? Like if you're not great at marketing, just go hire someone to handle your marketing for you. That makes all the sense in the world. The problem is, unlike law school or unlike becoming an accountant or many other professional services, there's no actual education and certification required to call yourself a marketing agency, right? Like I can grab a laptop and walk down to Starbucks and say I'm a marketing agency. And a business owner who doesn't know any better doesn't really have any way of assessing whether the marketing people that they hire to help with their marketing actually know what they're doing or not. And many marketing agencies, either because they're just not good at what they're doing or because they're actually more interested in just collecting a check every month from their clients, actually aren't all that great at marketing and actually don't run the types of campaigns that small business owners need in order to get results. So it's almost a blind leading the blind situation where the average business owner just wants to be able to hire someone to handle their marketing for them. Unfortunately, the vast majority of the time, the agency that they go hire either does a bad job or an incomplete job, and so they end up frustrated. And so the business owner bounces from agency to agency, never really understands why it's not working. and they end up frustrated and they end up wasting a lot of time and money. And I talk to people all the time who are swear off marketing and they're like, I'm never going to spend another penny on marketing again. And it's like, no, you need marketing. Marketing is great. You just need to find the right people to help you do it.
Exactly. Yeah. And you also, or find the right tools and find the right, here's the thing. Marketing, I keep telling people there's a difference between marketing strategy, marketing tactics, and marketing funnels. And I was hoping maybe you can, I know this is a little extra question for you, because I think it's important that we understand the definitions of what each one are.
Sure.
And then that way, because marketing is, and it's actually another one. There's really 4 sections. There's a marketing strategy, the marketing, what's the word I just said? Tactics. Thank you. The marketing funnels, and also the sales aspect of it. So I think I think they all bridge together.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking if you could take a few minutes and explain really briefly what each one is.
Yeah.
That'll be perfect. I think,
Yeah.
and then we'll jump into the next question.
Yeah. So for me, marketing strategy, which by the way, is where it all starts. And I'm so glad you brought it up, because that's the part that your average small business owner and your average marketing agency skips right past, because they go right to the tactics.
Right.
But the strategy is so important. And if you don't have the right strategy in place, then the tactics don't even matter. So for me, strategy is about answering a few questions. One, it's about getting crystal clear on who your ideal prospects actually are. What type of customers do you want to attract into your business? And you need to have a very clear, precise definition. You need to know exactly who the types of customers you want to attract into your business are. And there's a whole thing there. And there's a whole chapter in our book around how to do that. But then once you've gotten clear on who those people are, then the next step is to figure out, okay, what is the messaging? What is the message you want to put in front of those people that's going to draw them into your business? And where so many business owners go wrong, and I work with a lot of law firms, and so I'll use that as an example, is when they're thinking about their messaging, it's all centered on them and how great they are, right? It's, I went to this law school. I have, this many years of experience. I've won this many awards. Our office is in this really prestigious location, right? It's all these things about how great the business is. The problem is their customers don't really care about any of that stuff. Their customers have a problem and they want the law firm to help them solve it. Maybe it's a divorce law firm. And so the problem is that a husband just found out that his wife wants a divorce. And now he's contemplating all of these questions like, what will happen to the kids? What's going to happen to our finances? What's going to happen to our house? And so you have these law firms that are out there talking about, all these irrelevant things about how great they are. And meanwhile, that's not what the guy cares about. And so effective messaging is all about speaking to their problems and their pain points, not talking about how great your business is, but saying, listen, I know if you're considering divorce, you've got questions about what's going to happen to your kids. You've got questions about your finances. I've got some answers for you. I'm here to help you. Let's have a conversation. And so that's kind of the second big strategic component, is really getting clear on what your messaging needs to be. And once you're clear on who your ideal clients are and what the messaging needs to be, then you can start talking about tactics. Does that make sense?
Perfect. And then is there anything else that you wanted to add regarding the marketing strategy? Because
yes, that was definitely high level. There are some other important questions that you want to get answered. Another one is you really need to know the numbers, right? You need to understand how much is your average customer or client worth to your business, right? If you get a new customer, how much profit on average are they worth to you in a calendar year? Let's say, maybe the answer is, they're going to pay you $10,000 in a year. Your cost of goods and staff and everything are, say, $8,500. So that one customer, you're going to make a $1,500 profit on. You need to know those numbers, because that tells you how much you can afford to spend to attract another customer, right? If I'm going to go spend $2,500 on a marketing campaign to attract a customer that's only worth $1,500 to me, well, congratulations, I just lost $1,000. And so it's things like that probably more depth than we want to get into on this podcast, but you
That
got
might be another podcast.
well, there you go. Because you really have to know the numbers, and until you know the numbers, that just sets the parameters of what your campaign should look like and what you can afford to spend. So there's definitely things like that. But at a high level, for me, it's number one, clear on who your ideal prospects are, and number two, clear on what's the messaging you're going to use to attract them.
No, I love it. And then also knowing what your goals are and goals for the numbers, which is actually a good 3-step process that I feel is spot on. And I'm just taking notes.
Love
So,
it.
yeah, that's just how I roll. You can take the girl out of the school, but not not the other way around. So anyway, so that actually certainly talks about defining that strategy. So tell me about the marketing tactics that you like to use that
Yeah.
work.
So once you're clear on who your ideal clients are and what's the right messaging to attract them, then it's really just a question of, okay, so now how do you get that message in front of your clients? And that's where, there's no one size fits all answer, right? Because every target audience is different. But it basically starts by saying, listen, where do my target customers spend their time? Are they active on Facebook? Are they, do they still read the local newspaper? Do they watch TV every morning? Do they listen to the radio on the way to and from work? And so once you identify kind of, listen, these are the channels where I think I can reach these people, then it's just kind of it's a tactical, situation of let's start running some ads on Facebook and see what results we get. Let's run an ad on the radio station and see what type of results we get. It really becomes just a trial and error thing at that point. But the key in what I just said there is you can't just spend money on Facebook or spend money on the radio and not have a mechanism in place to track results. That is where small business owners get themselves in so much trouble. You need to have mechanisms in place so you can gauge the effectiveness of your campaign, right? So if you're running an ad on the radio, let's say, don't just give out your standard phone number. You can there's a tool called CallRail. There are lots of tools where you create a dedicated phone number that's only given out on that specific radio ad. And then anybody who calls that phone number, with certainty that they heard your commercial on the radio and that's why they responded. And so at the end of the month, you can say, how many calls did I get from the radio? How many calls did I get from Facebook? How many calls did I get from my ad in the newspaper? And then you have visibility and clarity into what's working and what's not working. And then it gets easy from there, right? Because it's just about, let's do more of the stuff that's working and let's stop doing the things that aren't working.
Pretty much. It narrows it down for you in a sense. So yeah. Well, that's perfect. And I'm picking your brain today. So I hope you don't mind.
I love it. This is great.
Yeah, awesome. So then with regards to marketing funnels, and then we're going to talk about sales afterwards, and then we'll go into some other details, juicy details we were going to discuss. This is rolling really fast, by the way. I'm really loving it. So marketing funnels, could you explain what those are and how is it a good funnel for someone like, let's just say like a coach, and give like an example for that?
Yeah. So a marketing funnel is basically, it's recognizing that it's not enough to just go out on Facebook, for example. I'm just choosing Facebook, but you could choose any media platform. It's not enough to just go on Facebook and run an ad that says, hey, do you need business coaching? Call me at this number or email me here, right? It's like on a first date, you're coming on too fast, right? Like it's the first time they ever heard of you. They're not going to call you and ask you to coach them based on the first time they ever saw your ad. And so what a funnel is all about is saying, okay, how do we get them to take little steps, travel down the funnel until eventually they are ready to have a phone call and consider hiring you? And so the most common way you do that is by giving away something of value. So to stick with your business coach example, rather than running an ad saying, do you want business coaching? Call me. You could create, say, a video lesson, something like the top 5 mistakes that hold small businesses back. And so you're not asking them to call you. You're like, hey, I've got a really great video lesson that's yours completely free. And all you need to do to access it is enter your email address. And you can think of that as the top of the funnel, because now they've gotten some free content. They've gotten to know you. They've watched the video. They've appreciated the value you created in the video, and you've got their email address, which means you can now follow up with them and say, I hope you enjoyed that video. Here are some more tips that you could take away from the video. And then you email them again 2 days later and you say, hey, we're having a very special webinar next week. Would you like to attend the webinar? It's all about whatever, right? Whatever. And then they attend the webinar, and then they get another email that says, thanks for attending the webinar. Here are a few of the most important takeaways. By the way, would you like to schedule a call to talk about how you can apply some of this stuff in your business? And now you've already had a conversation with them. They've already watched your video. They've been to your webinar. They've interacted with you a few times. They're much more likely to respond positively to your offer. And once they finally do that, then you have a sales conversation. So that is how a funnel works.
Perfect. And I love how simple you made it, because it's creating that heart-centered, friendly approach, and it's not the sleazy salesperson that's all about them. It's all
Exactly.
about focusing on the clients and what they need and helping them to build trust. So the
Exactly.
marketing funnels is like a trust building strategy. Wouldn't you agree?
I totally agree. And not only is it beneficial for the clients, right? Because you're providing value and you're educating them and you're building trust. It's also beneficial for the business owner, or in this case, the coach himself or herself, because a funnel and the interactions they have with you are a great way to either attract people who are drawn to you, like your energy, like your style. And for the people who don't, well, that's cool. They just kind of bounce out of your funnel. And so it means that by the time they get to you and want to have a sales conversation, there's already some synergy, right? They've already gotten to know you. They already have started to trust you. They've already started to like you. So it makes your sales consultations much more fun, frankly, because people already know what to expect. They already are interested in working with you. And so it kind of protects you as the coach in this example. It protects you from wasting your time and getting frustrated by having bad sales conversations.
Yep, perfect. Now from those poor or the time wasters. That's what I call them. That's what they are. Time wasters, the tire kickers. You don't want to spend all your time spinning your wheels. That's what I find a lot of people have done in the past that I've worked with, and whether they're coaches or whether they're my students. And a lot of them will sit there and say they've spent a lot of time wasting their calls on those one-on-one calls, and they're not getting the results. And I said, that's because you're not filtering them out properly. And this is
Exactly.
the funnel that I always teach them is, if you use the one-to-many approach, get a few of those webinars out there and just sit there and try to create that synergy with them, or send out like value, go into your Facebook or LinkedIn and send out some value videos, and start building like the quick tips kind of thing. Keep them short, keep them sweet. I wouldn't go past 20 minutes. 3 minutes might be the max, just because, let's face it, our attention spans have gotten less and less over the years. Anyway, and I actually want to ask that about the attention span afterwards. But anyway, the long story short is, making sure I write that note to myself. But anyway, the long story short of it is, you just nailed it perfectly. So once we've got the sales strategy in place, we figured out the tactics, because it's going to be different, like you said, for different audiences, and some are visual learners and auditory and written. And so it depends on what your audience needs, right? It's not just about and also what you feel comfortable doing. So you need to find a good alignment with that. So your audience needs to be something that relates to you and how you communicate, right? So it's sort of a combination thing. And then you also create a marketing funnel that will build that trust and value and education, and help them be able to really get to know you and your styles. And once you attract them, what's the definition of the sales, and what is your like secret sauce with that?
Yeah.
Any
So
secret tips?
Yeah, so for me, the marketing process sort of ends and the sales process begins when the prospect shows up for the sales call, right? The job of marketing is to find the customer, precondition them, take them through the funnel, and then ultimately hand them over to the salesperson or the sales process. And that's when marketing sort of ends in one sense and sales takes over, right? On that customer's journey, now sales has taken over. For me, sales, and it used to be earlier in my career, it was actually intimidating to me. Like I didn't like the idea of doing sales. It had just a bad connotation for me. It made me feel like I was doing something unethical. Um, and a lot of people feel that way. I know people feel that way. And what was really helpful for me was kind of reframing it to understanding that sales is about helping people. It is about helping somebody who has some type of problem and you have a solution for them, and it's about having a conversation with them, understanding what's going on in their life, what led them to reach out to you, what are they trying to accomplish, what problem are they having, and then having a conversation with them about, listen, this is the way that I can help you solve that problem. And it's no more than that. Like at its essence, it's just helping them recognize whether or not you can help them solve the problem that they have in their life. And when you frame it that way, and when you think about it that way, all of a sudden sales is really fun because it's just showing people how you can help them.
Perfect. And okay, so they're going to be, that's brilliant. And I am going to have and ask a quick follow-up question, and then we'll jump into some of the other stuff. But the other one I wanted to ask was, how long is the actual attention span really this day and age? When I started doing marketing for a well-known company, I was doing direct sales, and I did that for better part of 22 years, maybe going into roughly 22 years. The attention span for the average participants to grab their attention was around 30 seconds. And with all the stuff with the instant gratification stuff now, I think it's gotten less. So do you have any idea what that is?
Yeah, and I want to answer that in two ways. It's definitely shorter than it's ever been, and that's because of TikTok and YouTube and everything that's conditioning us that, listen, if a video is longer than 15 seconds, it's too long, right? Like TikTok is all about like those 8-second videos. So no question, the average attention span has gotten shorter. But what I challenge business owners and marketers really to think about is, listen, just because the average attention span has gotten shorter, that doesn't mean your marketing videos have to be 8 seconds or 15 seconds. It just means if you want someone to watch you for longer than they watch a TikTok video, you've got to be interesting, right? And so I don't tell business owners you have to make your videos really, really short. I tell them if it's going to be a longer video, it better be really interesting. Because some of the best sales and some of the best marketing materials out there are actually very long, right? 15-minute videos, 5,000 word landing pages, crazy stuff that you wouldn't think works in this era of short attention spans. But if you're really dialed into who your prospects are and the messaging and the pain points that they really care about, you can hold their attention for a lot longer than you might think. And if you do that, if you get them to spend 15 minutes watching your video instead of 8 seconds, well, you've just connected with them in a much deeper, much more powerful way. You've started to establish that trust that you've talked about. So yes, attention spans are getting shorter. No, your prospects aren't going to sit around for 5 minutes if your video is really boring. But if you can come up with an interesting, on message, well-crafted, piece of content, you can make it longer than 15 or 20 seconds. You just have to do it well.
No, that's brilliant. And I was going to say this for the end, but I think we might need to address it because you mentioned about positioning message. And that's something that I'm personally have struggled with is figuring out that right positioning message because, you want to be able to target it properly. So I wanted to be able to not really define it necessarily, but help me break it into the sections of how to create a positioning statement that's going to grab your audience's attention.
Yeah.
Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah. And
Okay.
it starts with, and we kind of touched on it earlier. It's okay. So step one is to be really clear on who your best customers are. You just need to have like a snapshot, an avatar of who your best customers are. And then once you know that, the way to come up with a powerful message is you have to know their pain points at a deep level. Like you really have to know, what are they struggling with? What are they frustrated with? What are they aspiring to? What do they want their life to look like? You have to know that stuff at somewhat of a deep level. Um, and the best way to do that, and I'm going to surprise you with how high tech and fancy this is, the best way to do that is to ask them, is to just pick up the phone and have a conversation with them. And so one of the things we recommend in the book is, step one is make a list of who your 10 favorite customers are of all time. Who are your 10 favorite customers, 10 best customers you've ever worked with? And then call them up and ask them if you can spend 10 or 15 minutes picking their brain. And then I have a series of what I call profiling questions. And by the way, these are available on our website for free download at automaticmarketingmachine.com. And it's just basically a series of questions where you ask them, what keeps you up at night? Like what keeps you up at night, stressed out, unable to get a good night's sleep? You know, what problem is on your mind first thing when you wake up in the morning? What are you hoping your life looks like in 2 years? Things like that allow you to really get inside their head. That's the important part of this, Marie, because once you have that information, actually putting together a marketing message that speaks to those things is pretty easy. The problem is most business owners never go that deep in their customer research. And so they're picking from a very shallow area instead of being able to go deep into what really motivates their prospects.
No, that's brilliant. And then one of the things I one of the things I have in that, and add to that, because there's some things that I've been researching on that too, because I'm trying to get, like I said, clarity. And I think one of the biggest challenges in the marketing is their positioning in the message, which is why I wanted to get a little deeper on this one. And then we'll go into the other topics and then close out the show. But really quick, I know you have a gift to share besides the free thing too. So long story short, when we're framing a reference and how to place it and how to frame it so that it's trying to put the wordings and trying to get the wording, and I'm having trouble getting the wording in today. But anyway, you're doing a reference, you're trying to frame the reference of your offer and putting it into a context, and then be able to connect the dots to the reference. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
that's the piece I know I had trouble with my own self. It's easier for me to observe it in others because I'm not married to the results, right? I don't, it's easier to look at it from an objective perspective. It's a different when you're dealing with, what's the word I'm looking for? With, it's easier to look at other people's from a objective perspective.
Yeah.
But when it's for my own self, and I'm sure other people struggle with the same thing. So when you're trying to position your offer and frame it in a certain way, how do you connect those dots so that it's makes sense to somebody
Yeah.
in your offer?
So
Does that make sense?
it sure does. And for me, it's actually a pretty simple formula. It's basically saying, do you have this type of problem? Like, let's stick with my example of a divorce law firm. Kind of the first point in your messaging is, are you considering divorce? Then you say something to establish some empathy. We know how stressful that can be. We know you're worried about what's going to happen with your kids, what's going to happen with your house, what's going to happen with your finances. And then you say something like, we can guide you through this process. And then you give them a call to action and you say something like, attend our webinar where we're going to go deep into that topic, or download my free PDF where I go deep into that topic, or call me at this number and we can have a free consultation. But so it's the formula for me is identify the problem, show that you have some empathy, and then give them a call to action of how they can take the first step towards fixing their problem.
Okay, gotcha. So basically, perfect. That's a simple, easy formula. It's like sometimes I think we overthink things, especially when it's our own business.
Exactly.
Give
Exactly.
them. Gotcha. No, that's perfect. And then the other part of it is I've read that there's some differential. I don't even know if I can pronounce the word today because I have days where my words want to work and sometimes they don't. But what is the differentiator in your positioning message?
Yeah, so that takes a little bit of digging, right? But the question basically becomes, what value can you bring to your customers above and beyond what they're going to find from your competition? And there are many different angles you can go with that. You can go with a higher level of service, right? So maybe extended hours available to help your clients, maybe VIP treatment in some capacity. Like, that's one way to go about it. Another is to get really specific. Like, when I started my marketing agency, at first we worked with any small business. And then we narrowed our focus just to law firms. And all of a sudden that's a differentiator, right? Because most of the marketing agencies they were talking to worked with everybody. And when we could say we work just with law firms, that's an attractive sort of point of differentiation, right? So that's another way you can do it. And honestly, there's kind of a lot of ways. A third is really just developing a focus on one specific thing and saying, this is what we do. It's all we do. We're really good at it. I have a friend that owns a business called the Newsletter Pro, and all they do is newsletters for their clients. And they're very, very, very successful. And it's because they are known as they're the best at that specific thing. Rather than trying to do 100 different things, they just do one thing and they do it really, really well. And that differentiates them from everybody else in the marketplace.
Now that's perfect. So basically it helps you're basically trying to help narrow down what is your unique selling proposition and what is your focus. And if you focus on just one area of expertise and hone in on that and capitalize on that, that's going to make you be set apart from the competitors. Pretty much
Exactly.
the recap for that. So that's brilliant. No, awesome. So I know we went a little off the topic a little bit, but not really, because I think what it will do is be good for setting up to if you have time for a few more questions.
I do. Maria, I have about 10 minutes and then I need to I have another appointment.
Okay, no worries. So we're gonna jump into a couple of questions. I think we really only have a few anyway. So, and then we'll get to the call to action and close out the show. I mean, it's not gonna take that long anyway. It depends on the answers. So the next quick question is, I'm trying to figure out what it is. You said something about, we did talk about setting the parameters of what to spend already, right? So we're going to jump into what are the top marketing channels that you see working for business owners today? I think that's going to be the next good one for today.
Yeah. And I'll say this. Remember the first part of our conversation, for everyone that's listening out there, that strategy comes first. You have to be clear on what your strategy is. Because the media channels change every day, right? But I can tell you right now, Facebook ads works remarkably well for many business owners that I speak with and consult to. It allows you to be just very, very targeted, right? You can set a very detailed target for your messaging. You can target just men between the ages of 25 and 27 that live in a specific zip code that are interested in specific TV shows, right? Like, you can get really, really targeted. You can target women who have kids between 8 and 10 years old, right? You can do a lot of really, really sophisticated targeting on Facebook. And that makes it a very efficient place to spend your money because you're not wasting it. It's not just a billboard by the highway where 99 out of every 100 people that drive by aren't a good fit anyways. So Facebook ads is probably my favorite single platform right now. But I'll also tell you, Maria, and you probably are aware of this, TikTok has exploded as a marketing channel
I saw that. I was like
Yeah,
so surprised. I mean,
yeah,
but also, but tell me, what's the best audience in for that? I mean, because your audience is where it's gonna,
yeah.
if your audience isn't in
Teenagers,
TikTok, yeah,
teenagers and in their early 20s. That is for sure the best audience on TikTok is teenagers and people in their early 20s. I do think, just like, because remember, Facebook started with college students and now has eventually grown to just about
adults,
everybody.
yeah,
Um, and
grandmas are too included.
Yeah, everybody's on Facebook. And TikTok will probably follow that trajectory too, I would guess. But right now, TikTok is best for consumer brands that want to sell products or services to teenagers, people in their early 20s, things like that.
Perfect. Is there any other one tip in that?
There are just so many channels that work well. LinkedIn ads is another great channel. For B2B, right? If your customers are business owners, LinkedIn has a lot of the same benefits that Facebook has in terms of targeting.
Right.
So I like LinkedIn a lot. And just generally using video is a good thing, whether that's on YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn or TikTok or whatever. Video is much more popular and much more engaging than just writing. So using video is huge. So anyone who's listening that maybe doesn't have video or isn't using video, that would be a place to start for sure.
That's why we use things like, that's why I work with people who want to use video for their webinars, podcasts, or workshops, because it's a great way, like you said earlier, to really develop that know, like, and trust factor with your
Exactly.
audience, and it helps you put them through the funnel easier. So that's so super. And then I don't know if we have time for anything else, but we might have time. I have two more questions. I don't know how fast we can do them, and then we'll jump into the your gift. But you talked a lot about direct response marketing in the book, and what does that mean exactly? And the last question would be, how can a new business owner grow their business without spending a lot of money on marketing? And I think we even just touched on that anyway. So let's just focus on the direct response
Yeah.
marketing topic. Yeah,
Well, and this is a pretty simple answer. Direct response marketing is basically it's a philosophy that allows you to know whether your marketing is working or not. And the way you do that is in every one of your marketing campaigns, you have a specific call to action, right? Instead of just running an ad that says, look how great I am, and kind of like a branding style ad, right? Instead of doing something where it's just about getting your brand out there, every ad has a call to action. Register for my webinar. Click here to schedule a consultation. Download my special report. And so you always have a call to action. And then you can say, listen, I spent $100 advertising this thing, and 5 people took my call to action, registered for my webinar or whatever. And then you say, okay, cool, $100, 5 people responded, $20 per response. Maybe you ran a different ad and nobody responded. And because you had a call to action, you can now say, listen, like, this didn't work. It did not work. And so you focus on the campaign that did work. And then maybe you try another campaign and you do something different and you spend the same $100, but you actually get 10 people to respond. And you're like, wow, this is great. Now it's only $10 per new lead. And so that's clearly better than the first 2 campaigns. And so direct response marketing just means make everything actionable. Always ask for your audience to respond, right? To do something. And that gives you the ability then to measure whether it's working or not.
perfect. I love it. And it's always good to do that. And there's so many ways and tips and tricks to do that. And maybe we'll show that case in some other future episodes. So no, that is so brilliant. Thank you so much for taking so much valuable time today and sharing about so many valuable tips today and to our audience to help them grow themselves and their business on the Marketing Mindset Mastery Radio Show. Danny, we will have to have you back. And before we go, you had a great topic today, and it was all about, and I'm trying to remember what that was. It was about automatic marketing machine based on your new book, which I'm really excited to get a copy of, by the way. So we'll touch base about that later. But long story short, is there like a quick little link you want to share, like something you want to share with the audience? Besides, you said there was a worksheet that had the tips,
Yeah.
and then
Well,
some other things.
Here's what I'll say. The link is just automaticmarketingmachine.com. And then we have a tab on that website called free resources. And we've actually got, I want to say 10 or more really great, totally free resources. We have checklists to help you determine who your ideal clients are. We have templates that you can use for your sales emails. We have all sorts of totally free resources. And you can access all of them at automaticmarketingmachine.com.
Yeah, and I really want to encourage you to reach out to Danny if you're a lawyer, or even if you have just some questions on marketing, he can certainly steer you in the right direction and give you some quick tips, right? And be happy to do that for you. So anyway, I just want to encourage you to take advantage of that offer. It'll be on our YouTube channel. We'll share it on the social medias, but in case you missed it, it's automaticmarketingmachine.com for your free, grab your free resources, and then schedule a call with Danny and see if he can give you some tips and tricks on how to market your business more effectively. So he just did on today's show. So thank you so much for that. Also, do go to our merchandising shop at Marketing Mindset Mastery Radio shop. We actually are doing a great deal where anytime anyone orders a $45 gift, backpack. I can speak today, just not apparently as well as I'd like. But anyway, so for every $45 backpack, which is a really cute Marketing Mindset Mastery backpack, you can go to libertyvirtualsolutions.com/shop, order that today. We will send out a $5 gift card to a lucky teacher across the US. And they can get a gift card to help put towards their students in their classroom because they need the extra help. That's how we're giving back to our community. So please make sure you check out libertyvirtualsolutions.com/shop. The cart is open for that. It's cute little backpacks. There are other things in there too. And the more you buy, the more more $5 gift cards we will send to the teachers. You can even connect with us on our website as well and let us know which teacher to send it to. So join us next week for great tips, ideas, and how to make your marketing and mindset work for you and learn how to set up your business for success. We stream every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. So make sure you like, share, and hit that subscription button and notification button. And until next time, I'm your host, Marie Mason, with our guest, Danny, saying goodbye for now, the Marketing Mindset Mastery podcast. And that ends this week's show. And have a great season. Oh, and my book is coming out, launching on April 25th. And I give you all a sneak peek, but it's the Bubble Bear's Special Problem, all about destigmatizing learning disabilities. We'll talk more about it next week's show, and you all have a great one. Take care. Bye now. So let me go ahead and we'll talk soon.
Thanks so much, Marie.
Yeah, thank you, Dinah.